Mystics Outlook. Obviously, a little earlier than normal. We got Cardell Dudley Jr. here. I'm Wilson Turpay Jr. And it was an annual camp day game. You know, take all the campers, fill up Capital One. They definitely made a lot of noise. It was clear through the broadcast. However, as far as the Mystics go, their rally fell short. The Indiana Fever hold on for 82-76 win. This is the second time this year the Indiana Fever have beat the Washington Mystics. We talked this week on the focus, last week on the focus about the other side of All Star break. Even here on Mystics Outlook, before All Star break began as well, how important it was for Washington to kind of get off to a solid start because who they have on the schedule. Like just in a couple days, you got the Liberty coming in here. We know all their ailments, what have you, but what went wrong in this one?
Man, where we gonna start at? Man, they started off sloppy from the get go. We're not even going to sugarcoat it. They look like a team that came in irritated that they had to play an early game, fresh off the All Star break. They were flat, and they ran into a team that looked like it's either we turn it on now or we need to get ready for next season. And that's what happened. The young team that came out, with a sense of urgency from the opening tip, and they felt the Mystics kind of dragging, and they jumped on them. That's how they got the first quarter lead. Obviously Kelsey Mitchell always gives the Mystics problems, as she does pretty much every team in the league. That's why she's an all-star. And they just follow her lead. It was unfortunate because the Fever came in down Alyssa Smith and Lexi Hull, two starters and two big parts of their team. So even though the Mystics were molded, you would think that with those two key pieces, and then the way they were guarding Leah Boston tonight, who for the second time in probably a month of facing the Mystics here, she struggled. They did a good job defensively crowding her and struggling, making her struggle from the field. You would think that it would be enough to pull out the win, but it just wasn't. And the Mystics got to blame themselves. We're not even going, the shot selection, turnovers at the wrong points, lack of energy, lack of execution offensively. It all played a part, and I think the game was done. Honestly, just coming into the game with that mindset, you could just tell. Even being a former ball player myself, you know what the early games does, man. But you got to snap out of that, especially now. It's the second half of the season, man. You like it's either go time or it's no time. Like you gonna have to, it's time to get ready for the draft or whatnot, man. And this team is too good. I know they want it, but they're too good to just be around 500. And the fact that they only won one quarter, and that was a quarter where both teams would struggle from the field because it was so physical in this game. They outscored the Fever 15-13 the second quarter, and then the Fever edged them the rest of the way. It's just something that to me is unacceptable. You can't lose to if you like they've mentioned aspiring to try to make a championship run. You can't lose to a 6-win team. Well, now 6-win team, man. Coming in a 5-win team. They got to really do some soul searching. See what they want to do, man. Because it's just what they've been doing is just not working. It seems like it's a carryover. I know it's All-Star break and all that first game back, but it just seems like it's a carryover from the end of the season as well. I mean, end of the first half of the season as well, man. And the thing is, they got great production from their bench, man. Egbo came in, inspired. Harper hit some shots. Ming been balling the last few weeks, man. She been balling. But even Goring recently signed Goring, hardship signing, gave him some good minutes off the bench. But Maisha then, she's been up and down. Brittany Sykes was really off. If it wasn't for free throws, man, it would have been bad. And Shatori, look, Kelsey Mitchell. It's no other way of putting it. She took it to her. It is what it is, man. So, Cloud got going in spurts, but she was an inefficient, 19. She tried to inspire. She tried to bring energy, try to lead. But for whatever reason, the troops didn't follow him. The one person that, to me, did play well in the starting lineup was Tiana Hawkins, and she's been steady throughout the season, being a consummate professional. That's what she is. She's a pro's pro. Like, she ready no matter what. And that's how the rest of the team need to turn it. Like, that's how they got to be. They got to follow her lead and start approaching every game like this, man. No matter the time. I don't care if you play at 5 a.m. It's on the schedule. The other team got to play it. So you gotta be ready to go. That's part of being a professional, man. I felt like they settled for too many threes at time, 8 to 25. When you're this cold as a team, man, you gotta get easier points. And here's the wild part: they shot 44%, so a little bit better shot selection, not selling for some threes, and this could have easily been their game. And then fouling too much, man. Defensively, they we said, like I said, they didn't execute offensively, but man, defensively they were all over the place. They were just out of sync. And when you out of sync defensively, that's when you start playing defense with your hands. You start playing defense with your hands. Teams getting a bonus, and people get to the free throw line early and a lot. And you give them free points. It's hard to come by. And the difference is Missy shot 10 or 14 from the line. The Fever 18 to 21. That's your ball game right there, man. So let's just need to do some soul searching and on top of getting healthy. But regardless, they got to suit up who they got to suit up. We got to do some soul searching and really try to find a way to correct this because, like we said before All-Star break, the heavy hitters are on their way. And they don't fix some things, season to be over in the next couple of weeks. For sure.
Yeah, like you said, we I think it's clear when you're missing that many people, the error, the margin for error becomes dangerously thin, and you can't put a team on the line 21 times. You could barely afford it. No one wants to do that when perfectly healthy, let alone missing essentially your interior. As you said, also want to shout out to Tiana Hawkins for consistently being productive, game in, game out, regardless of her role. As you said, a pro's pro. Yeah, I thought Egbo did a solid job as well. They just they can't afford bad shooting games right now from Cloud to Sykes and Walker Kimbrough. They can't afford those. It just is what it is. At this point, while folks are out, you can't have what was that 2 of 12 from Sykes and Shatori. You can't have that from the floor. And then Kelsey Mitchell's been a bucket for forever, and has always gotten on their nerves, as you mentioned. And we saw Indiana kind of grow a little bit. I thought they handled putting this game away better than they have at other times during the season. Where we've seen them, they've been in similar situations several times this year, but there's a reason they had the #1 overall pick. Team is going through some things. They've also fumbled that opportunity late several times this year. Unfortunately for Washington, a couple times that they've pulled it out, it's twice now against the Mystics, both of which came, one at Capital One and then one at the ESA. But the foul line, you can't turn the ball over again. Margin for error shrinks when you're missing folks. And those are the things you can't control. Taking care of the ball. Fouling. Those are things you can't control. I know you can't control the injuries. But you have to check the boxes on the things you can't control. If the margin for error is becoming so dangerously thin. Like, it is what it is. Indiana, as you said, they were missing another piece of their front line tonight in Alyssa. The Liberty come in, they're going to have their front line. A couple days after that, you get BG. It's going to be what it's going to be as far as that goes until, the Cavalry gets there and you get some more bodies back. But it means you got to rebound as a group. It means you have to play defense with your feet, not your hands. And as you said, you can't afford to settle right now. I think that was also one of the biggest differences. Indiana didn't settle as much. They took 24 threes, but it didn't feel like they settled nearly as much as Washington did. At times where you got to think about it with some of the size Washington has on a perimeter, like why not attack? And this is something we've questioned at times when they've been fully healthy. They've had an issue at times settling, but like you said, it's not a good way to start the second half of the season at all. But get a couple days to regroup. The good thing about the WNBA schedule is there's never a lot of time for rest. You get the Liberty coming in your building on Friday. Who'd you have to player of the game?
You gotta go with Kelsey. I think she controlled the game. 5 assists, held on defense. She had 4 steals, and no one could really guard her. She was 7 to 13 from the field. And only reason why they was that bad because she missed a few 3-pointers. Everywhere else, couldn't do nothing with her. I just feel like she was the one person that they really can stop, and then everybody else just fed off of her. So you gotta give her the nod for today.
No arguments there for me at all. X Factor.
Emma Cannon. I think she was big, huge off the bench. 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Physical inside. I think she kind of complimented with Aaliyah struggling. She came off the bench and gave him the boost to kind of help with the lack of production from Boston and also make up for the list of not being here. You know what I mean? Look, she scored. She had 13. She only averages 4 on the season. See what I'm saying? So it's a lot of pluses with her performance today, and that's why they were able to have their edge in this one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Emma Cannon. We talk about Tiana just being a pro. Emma's been a pro for this young team, just being consistent in her role when called upon, and like you said tonight, you take away her performance. If she has what she normally averages, it's a Mystics win. Like just keep it that simple. They did check a couple boxes, like you mentioned earlier, in terms of keeping Aaliyah from getting her averages. But Emma was huge, 5 of 12 from the floor, 5 boards, and it led to a good production from their bench, which, despite Washington getting solid protection from their bench, having a couple of your starters struggle like that really hurt in this one. And Emma Cannon definitely stepped up for them. What'd she give them? 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Tonight. It's 21 big minutes.
Yes, it is.
And they didn't even get their normal production out of Grace Berger either. Another solid youngster for Indiana who typically contributes more for them. But good win for the Fever. For Washington, look, man, that's a tough L. And the Liberty again in the bid on Friday. And as far as what that loss does, just looking at the seeding, because Washington had Atlanta right behind them before the break started. Atlanta is now a game up on Washington. Atlanta's 12-8. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Washington's 5-5 in their last 10, and the Mystics are now 11-9.
So they're actually below them, the Wings, because the Wings beat them. So they're 6 right now in the league.
Right. So the 4th in the East and 6th in the league, which is, and you got Dallas. They got Dallas coming up within this next 2-week stretch as well.
Yeah, and with the top 8 make the playoffs, right?
Yep.
So yeah, man. they got to go on the street, man. This is good thing.
Like work has to be done just to tread water until reinforcements arrive. Like they can't afford it.
Yeah, because you don't want a first round series against them heavyweights up top.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Connecticut, definitely the Liberty Aces. That's tough. It's tough to go on the road to begin your playoff run. That's tough.
Man, I don't even know if I want to go into Connecticut.
With Bree out, you might like that a lot better than
Facts.
The Aces.
I'm just thinking about what DeWanna typically does to them. She's a hell of a headache for Washington. Quite a bit. And Alyssa. But, like you said, out of those options, I mean, yeah, you don't want the Aces off the early.
No.
Not at all. Again, there's still time left, but again, look, man, they can't afford to. What I say was 5-5 in the last 10. Mm-hmm. They got to tread water. They can't afford to keep sliding any more than they are. Even if they could hold sticks until they get some folks back. As far as the league standards go, that's fine. But you don't want to get overtaken by Minnesota or Chicago, because then it leads to what Cardell said. You end up in that unenvious position of being a road team going into the Lions Den to start the postseason. But we'll catch up with y'all on Friday night when the Mystics host the New York Liberty.